We be live. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone in the live chat. Let me actually make sure that my audio is working. Make sure while I check that you are liking the stream so that this channel grows. Yes, the audio is working. Fantastic. Okay, guys, everybody right now like the stream before we get started. We're going to do another Islamic video from the British Muslim Smile to Jannah. This is from the channel Smile to Jannah. He just reviewed a debate between Andrew Tate and Piers Morgan. Is that the video? Hold on. Do I have the right video up? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, let me actually let's play a little bit of it and see. And Alfred is here. Thank you so much, Alfred, for being here, for highlighting people's comments, especially highlight people who are saying that they have liked the stream. Highlight that as well, but also highlight their comments. Thank you so much, Alfred. Oh, by the way, Alfred, let me actually play this video and I'm going to ask something from Alfred.
Assalamu alaikum guys, and welcome to another episode of Smile to Jannah. I make these videos with a very heavy heart because I know Andrew Tate has benefited many people when it comes to self-empowerment, when it comes to understanding masculinity, when it comes...
Wow, yes, like look at this. They don't like Andrew Tate right now because of his anti-immigration stance, but they liked him before for all his toxic takes. By the way, guys, I'm not anti-masculinity. Masculinity is fantastic, okay? But not the type of masculinity that Andrew Tate promotes. For his scams, like all the man is a con artist, and these guys were supporting him just because he was a Muslim. Anyway, so that means that I have picked the correct video, and we are going to go through the debate. We're going to show, he's going to show Andrew Tate and Piers Morgan, and we're going to respond to Andrew Tate, him, and Piers Morgan, all of them. Just something I want to mention with Alfred. Alfred, if you see any racist comments, star them. Don't highlight them, star them, and I will highlight them and I respond to the racist comments. Because sometimes if I'm talking and there's I'm saying something anti-racist, right? And then there's a racist comment highlighted under me, and it just like yeah, okay. So Alfred is saying, oh sure. So okay, I don't want to censor people. I just want to make sure if somebody's saying something insane, that I actually when I highlight it, I'm actually responding to it rather than just like having it on the screen. All right, fantastic. So let's respond to this guy. Okay, so let's go from the beginning. He's upset. Muslims, by the way, are upset. Andrew Tate came out against immigration, against Islamic immigration, and all sorts of other immigration. And the Muslims who are the love affair between the Ummah, the Muslim community, and Andrew Tate is coming to an end, or at least has been severely damaged. And here's the thing: is it fair for us to say we told you so? Like, weren't we predicting this? Like, didn't we say like you're gonna have buyer's remorse with Andrew Tate when Andrew Tate became a Muslim? Wasn't it me here on this channel that said like, okay, great, somebody so toxic, he belongs to you guys, like somebody who's so anti-woman, right? So somebody who's pro-violence, anti-woman, a con artist. This is in our favor. This is good for us, for our narrative, for you guys to have him. You guys gonna regret it later, but yeah, sure, you could have it, right? And here, like, see, buyer's remorse. So let's see what happens.
Assalamu alaikum guys, and welcome to another episode of Smile to Jannah. I make these videos with a very heavy heart because I know Andrew Tate has benefited many people when it comes to self-empowerment, when it comes to understanding masculinity, when it comes to fulfilling the...
I mean, he's correct. Like, Andrew Tate's understanding of masculinity is pretty much in line with far-right narratives, which is one of the main far-right narratives in the world right now, is Islam. Like, if you guys are concerned about far-right, don't go calling patriotic people and people with legitimate concerns with migration or Islam, don't call them far-right. You know, call the Nazis far-right. I mean, that's another debate, but at least call Islam far-right. Far-right, Islam is definitely far. Call the racist people, the homophobes, the misogynists, call them. And Islam has all of that. All the far-right ideas that you could think of, Islam has them. Right? So, yeah. And Andrew Tate's understanding of masculinity is pretty much in line with what Islam wants you to think.
Their role and their responsibility in a relationship. I know not
Their role and their responsibility. Basically, women are mostly for women have no agency, should not have any agency. They should just basically be for sex, cleaning the house, making food, and basically a child factory. You know, like making as many babies as you please as a husband. Basically, that's the role. The role of the woman is basically the labor that she could do and what she could do for you in bed and how many babies that she could produce for you. That's what the role of a woman is, how she could serve a man, right? It's a one-sided relationship.
everybody sees it that way, because sometimes people will take his satirical videos out of context, and of course he's had a colorful past as well. Myself, I am very
See, like when he says things that are problematic and they don't agree with him, but it's targeting something that is not Islamic, oh, he's just being colorful or maybe being satirical. But when it comes for Islam or Muslims, then all of a sudden they are not as charitable with Andrew Tate as before. That's like making excuses for Andrew Tate. Amazing.
disappointed, because there's a very important principle, and that is stay in your lane. If you don't know a lane, you're not equipped with it, don't get involved with it, and don't ruin your legacy. At least if you want to go into that lane, prepare and do justice to it. And I think that's the issue over here. Andrew Tate had his field, his niche. However, now he's going into migration and UK politics, and he really is not cut out for this, as we saw in his exchange with Piers Morgan.
So basically he's saying that when you were anti-woman, we liked it because Islam is anti-woman, but now you're anti-migrant, we don't like it because many of these migrants are Muslims, right? That's what he's saying. So now let's go to the Piers Morgan and Andrew Tate debate and watch that part. But I just want to, Jamal is here for reporting this video. So good thing. Thank you so much, Jamal, for being here. I don't know if you understand that you being here is actually helping this channel, and also especially your comment. But guys, given that Jamal is reporting this video, please everybody like the stream so that we could undo Jamal's reporting, the effect that might have on this video. So please go ahead and like the stream, so that whatever damage Jamal is doing to the channel, to the stream, because of his reporting, your likes. And also tell Jamal in the live chat that you are liking the stream, so he sees the effect that he has had is that he has made more people liking the stream. All right, so
UK politics, and he really is not cut out for this, as we saw in his exchange with Piers Morgan.
The London stabbing, Piers. The London bridge attack, he was born in Pakistan. We want to sit here and talk about how a large contingent of the people committing terror attacks in the UK and the most heinous crimes are not natively English people.
Andrew. You're making it seem like there was only one attacker. There were 3 attackers, and only one of them was Pakistani. The other 2 were Moroccan. And this Pakistani had British citizenship. And it's interesting how you didn't mention that, because it probably goes against the cartoon that you posted of the typical illegal immigrant. And what's interesting is somebody who talks about leaving the matrix, you are talking about pitfalls within the matrix. These are techniques used by the media, the matrix. I'll give you a couple of examples. A nurse, Lucy Letby, killed 7 babies and attempted to kill 6 others. You and the media won't be talking about her skin color and won't be talking about her ethnicity. The worst child case in recent decades, according to the NSPCC, was the Glasgow 7. They were all white, and they abused 3 kids in the most obscene and sick way possible. And let's not forget the deadliest mass shooting in British history, which was done by Thomas Hamilton in 1996, and he killed 16 pupils, kids, injuring 15 others. Again, when it came to these issues, you didn't bring them up. In fact, you brought up 1 perpetrator out of 3, which shows that there's some biasness going on here.
99% of the rioters were white.
right. So guys, let me know, how would you respond to this? I hear these things all the time. and I could go into crime rates and discuss that. If you, let me know if you want me to do that. But I think that both sides are missing the point here, and they're not using really good arguments to make their case. All of these are anecdotal, right? You to be able to understand, if you want to focus on crime rates, and I don't think you should be focusing on crime rates. I think even a lot of people who are anti-mass migration and are anti-Islamization, the main thing that they go to is just crime rates. And I don't think a lot of people understand that the foundations of your society are being targeted, and higher crime rates is just like the tip of the iceberg. And it's a lot easier for us to show how the way of life, the values of your society, and everything your society is founded upon, that is the main thing that is being targeted here, right? But even if you wanted to focus on crime rate, Andrew Tate is giving examples, and Smile to Jannah here, as a way to respond, is giving examples. Like, after all of these years of YouTubers debating each other, trying to challenge each other, have we still not matured enough to the point where we realize, like, examples and anecdotes are not really a good way to come up with an understanding of what the hell is happening? In order to be able to see if crime rates are being affected by mass migration or Islamization, we need, like, statistical evidence. Isn't that obvious by now? Like, I don't understand how these are serious people. Like, these are giant, like, Smile to Jannah is like one of the biggest Islamic channels out there, based in the UK. Andrew Tate is so many followers. I mean, they don't even understand the basics of making logical arguments. I don't know how we haven't yet gotten to the point to understand these basics, right? And when it comes to crime rates, we have actually better data to figure out what the hell is happening as a result of mass migration. When it comes to Europe, we don't have that much for the UK. And I know there's one stat that people use for the UK to make a point, but that stat is not very relevant. Like, it's flawed, but it's quite obvious. I think for the UK, I think they find it problematic to collect this data. Maybe that's why they're not collecting this data. But but I have stats from other countries in Europe, right? So crime rates. Let me see. Okay, so as of 2016, Muslims made up approximately 4.9% of Europe's population, with projections suggesting that this could rise to between 7.4% and 14% by 2015. Crime rates and representation. In several European countries, Muslims are overrepresented in crime statistics relative to their population size. And again, it's important for us to understand that we're talking about Muslims. We're not talking about ethnicity. We're not even talking about migrants, right? And this is when I say Muslims, it could be either migrants, refugees, economic migrants, or even Muslims who are born and they're European citizens, right? But it says the stats show that Muslims are overrepresented in crime rates in countries including Belgium, Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Germany, and France. The UK, however, we don't have the stats. We don't have the stats because the main stat that people keep referring to is Muslims make up 18% of prison population, despite being only 7% of the general population. However, this overrepresentation in prison is not necessarily suggesting that they are committing more crimes, because many of them are converting to Islam in prison. So that data doesn't show us much for the UK, but we do have data for many other European countries that shows Muslims are, Muslim commit more crimes relative to the population. It's amazing how the examples he gives, he's not talking about, look at the examples he's giving, right? Like, oh my God, look how many crimes white people are committing. Look at the white people are committing a lot of crimes. not only he's using anecdotal evidence, he's also not pointing out that, well, the majority of the people living here are freaking white. Of course, the absolute numbers of crimes for white people in the UK is going to be higher. Are you insane? Of course, because there's mostly white people. White people are more. You have to adjust it relative to the population. If a group of people are 5% of the population, but they're doing 20% of the crime, they're still doing a minority of the crime, but they're doing it 4 times their population. Do you understand? Like, oh, look at this. Like, let's say like a group of people are 5% of the population and they're doing 20% of the crime. You could come, Smile to Jannah could come here and say like, oh, look, 80% of the crime is done by those other people. Oh, so they're not like more criminal on average. Like, no, they are. If they're 5%, they should be doing 5% of the crime, not 20% of the crime. But you're pointing out that 20% is less than 50%, so they're not doing the majority of the crime. Do you see? Like, I don't understand. This is basic logic. How are you missing this? How are you missing this? But anyways, even if we put crime aside, that's I don't want to dismiss the importance of higher crime rates. It is important, okay? At the end of the day, if we're supporting liberal values, then for us to be able to defend the liberal values, we have to defend the framework where when having these liberal values is possible. And the frameworks is two things: is defending the nation state and its borders, and two, defending the rule of law. You require to defend these two for you to even have a framework for these liberal values to have any meaning in. So the rule of law is important, and any challenge to it is a significant threat. But more important than the threat of violation of rule of law is what leads to having the proper laws, which is those foundational values. The foundational values that the citizens of a country have that leads them to have politics that reflect those values, politics that leads to good laws. If we want to support the rule of law, we should have good laws. It's going to be hard for us to support the rule of law when we don't have liberal laws and we have closer and closer to something that might resemble illiberal laws and, Iblis forbid, Sharia law. Like, I'm not saying they're going to have Sharia law all over the UK, but they are going to have laws. If the values in your society changes, you are going to have laws and politics and economic policies and so many other, and traditions that is not in line with liberal values. So a lot of people on the right like tell you like, oh, Sharia is going to take over. I mean, even if Sharia doesn't take over, the fact that more of your demographic is going to have backward beliefs, and your politics and your laws is just going to be 1 or 2 steps closer to what a Sharia-minded person would like, that means the consequences of that and the cost to society is significantly more than higher crime rates. Again, I don't want to dismiss somebody being knifed in the street. Obviously, that's horrible. That's horrible. Okay, but it's immeasurable. The cost to your society of having the wrong principles and the wrong values, the cost to your nation state, that is immeasurable. That is going into a completely different direction. The economic cost, the cost to progress, the people who are suffering. And again, that's harder to convince people of, because it's hard to connect the dots. It's harder. Like, if somebody is being knifed by a Muslim, I would like, oh my God, a Muslim knifed somebody in the street. I could point out to that, and the dots are just standing right next to each other, right? But if the fundamental values of your nation state is being threatened, the cost to you, there's so many dots that I have to point to show you what the cost to you is at that point, that you're not going to be able to relate to that. But that cost is even higher. I have to find a way to connect these dots to make it simple for my future shows. But I hope you understand what I'm saying. But anyway, continue.
British history, which was done by Thomas Hamilton in 1996, and he killed 16 pupils, kids, injuring 15 others. Again, when it came to these issues, You didn't bring them up. In fact, you brought up one perpetrator out of 3, which shows that there's some biasness going on here.
99% of the rioters were white, but notice how the front page doesn't mention their ethnicity. Thousands of police. The rioters aren't even mentioned.
What are you talking about? The media, oh, look, the media is so biased. They don't mention their ethnicity. As if they would mention their ethnicity if they were, like, do you have mainstream media in the UK saying, like, oh, yeah, the Muslims did it again? Or do they say that? Like, or they say, oh, brown people did it again? Like, is that how the media operates? They don't mention the ethnicity on the other side either. Oh,
When they talk about one of the actors, this keyboard warrior, again, his ethnicity is not mentioned. And the rioters,
oh yeah, and they mention their ethnicity. They'll go out of their way not to mention the ethnicity on the other side.
en masse aren't mentioned. It's just one lone weirdo. There are so many phrases you could have used: far-right fascist or riot organizer, but no, keyboard warrior, which is a kind of jokey term, someone you can't really take seriously. But when we talk about people defending their...
No, the keyboard warrior is to... If that could be because they want to connect it to online activity. In fact, that is actually more that is more dangerous, because they might want to show that the crimes are connected to people's activities online and basically come for your freedoms online.
property. They're not men, but they're gangs of Asian men.
As you can see, you are part of the problem. That's the issue people have.
Okay, so when you say gangs, because if there is a group of people with certain similar characteristics together, then that has to be identified in the responsible reporting. But if you have individuals doing something, then the mainstream media is not going to mention their individual characteristics, because there's a couple of individuals, there's nothing that shares them, all right? But the keyboard warrior, that was one person. But anyways, and also I'm not here to defend media reporting, because the way that these people, and also the far right, again, by far right, I don't mean patriotic people who are trying to defend their nation state. Okay, I'm talking about actual far right people, right? But the way they talk about mainstream media is as if it's a homogenous, like they generalize as if it's one thing, as if there's one narrative, right? Like, oh, look, everybody could act like the media is mistreating them if you pick the right media that has the narrative that you don't like, right? So, and then act like this is the entirety of the media. I could do that. This is, again, anecdotal. This is anecdotal. Like, if I wanted to show that the media is against me, or if these people wanted to show that the media is against their narrative, or there's a bias against them or in their favor or whatever, I have to do a statistical analysis. If I wanted to just pick and choose examples, anybody could look like they're the victim, because there will always be media that is every media has their own bias, and their bias will make them cover the news in a certain way, right? And I mean, some of them has less bias, right? But again, anybody could look like a victim if you pick the right examples. You need to see if all of the media, or at least most of the media, is against you. You need to do a statistical analysis about the word that they use in the title and compare it news by news and basically see. And again, what you're going to probably come to the conclusion is that some media is completely objective, some media is biased towards this direction, and some media is biased towards the other direction. That's what I expect for you to find. But again, you're not being honest, or you're not being very logical. That's why you just use anecdotal evidence. Amanda, thank you so much for the £2 super chat, saying like the stream. Well, thank you, Amanda. Thank you for your super chat. I appreciate that. So let's continue.
With your sort of rhetoric, I get it, you're against illegals, but the stuff that you've been posting, the PAKI racist slur you've been constantly using, it doesn't send.
So look at this. You say the PAKI slur you're constantly using. Doesn't that show that the media or the platforms that we're on is not actually... Why are you saying, Smile to Jenna, why are you saying PAKI slur? And why don't you... Because nobody's going to guilt you for being racist. You are Pakistani yourself. And if you say it, it's not like you're being racist. And we know that you're trying to say that the other side is using it, so we wouldn't guilt you for saying it. We wouldn't like, oh my God, Smile to Jenna is being racist by using a racist slur. No, we would understand. But why would you say PAKI? Is it not because YouTube hearing that slur would maybe demonetize your video or repress it in the algorithm and less people will see it, right? But if I say far right, if I say, oh, a whole bunch of far right people came and attacked the mosque, right? That's not gonna affect my channel. That's not gonna suppress my video, right? So you're saying like, oh, they're calling these calling people these, this and this, but why don't they do it on the other side? But look, you are showing that YouTube isn't YouTube a media platform. Like, it seems to be in favor of, not using these slurs. It seems to suppress videos or channels that is using that slur. So don't act like you're a victim, right? We could all say that, oh yeah, there's a bias here, there's a bias there, but don't generalize it as if the whole system is against you. Part of the system that you are on, which is YouTube, seems to be suppressing videos that use the PAKI word. That's why you're not using it. So don't act like you're a victim. Oh, we got another super chat. Oh, yeah, so let me see. Oh no, that's just a comment. Okay, cool. Let's continue.
The right message.
You are siding with Tommy Robinson.
Wait, we did get a super chat. Why is that not start? Oh, it is start. Okay. Amanda saying using dumpling for political capital disgusting. Hey, what is that? Hold on. I don't know what that is. That seems like be a town in Scotland. Okay, I'm going to keep this. Somebody explain to me what that means.
Who is leading a far-right series of attacks on Muslims and mosques.
The Islam I was
What the hell Piers Morgan is saying here? I don't understand. Like, what are you serious? Hold on, let me listen.
Posting the PAK using. It doesn't send the right message.
You are siding with Tommy Robinson, who is leading a far-right series of attacks on Muslims and mosques.
What are you talking about? Guys, did I miss something? When did Tommy do that? Like, are we living in a parallel world that the news, like something else is happening than what actually I'm seeing is happening? Is this like a clip from a parallel universe that Tommy is leading mobs to go attack mosques? Because in the universe that I'm living in, it's literally the exact opposite. Tommy has been the most obsessive over making sure that these protests are peaceful, asking people to make sure that they don't attack anybody, asking people to constantly telling people that he's not anti-Muslim, constantly, like, I don't, like, as obsessive as I am to make sure that we don't endorse racism or we don't feed racist people here, like, or endorse their ideology. I haven't seen anybody that is as obsessed with Tommy in this activism to make sure he's not doing that and he's not encouraging people to attack mosques or attack Muslims or endorse racism. Every time he's talking, every single video I have seen of him talking about the protests or encouraging people to come and protest and show their grievances, he had the main word. If you do a cloud, if you take his speeches or his videos and take all the words and make a cloud word out of it, the main word that you constantly seeing repeated is peaceful, peaceful, peaceful. He was even telling people to make sure, he wasn't sure that if people will listen to him. He even told people to make sure that they're not drinking just in case, so that they don't do something stupid in the protest. And he also knew that some people eventually would do something. And he warned people, like, make sure that when that happens, that we distance ourselves from them. And he warned everybody, yeah, that when that happens, this is not us. This is other people trying to take advantage of the situation. And what else is he supposed to do? Where is he getting this from? Let's listen to this again. Piers Morgan. Like, I played his videos. I played Tommy's videos. for you guys. He's for the exact opposite of what they are making him sound. I don't understand. Piers Morgan is usually not this stupid.
Message.
You are siding with Tommy Robinson, who is leading a far-right series of attacks on Muslims and mosques.
Where is that coming from? Tommy Robinson leading a far-right attack on Muslims and mosques? Holy crap, this is completely the opposite of what's happening. Where is he getting that from? He's literally asking for the opposite. Yes, Alexander is saying, yes, we are not living in the same universe. He's always talking about how peaceful the protest needs to be. There are Muslims in his protests. There are Muslims who are siding with him. Why would he want to attack Muslims? He has so many Muslim friends. I showed you a video in our previous live stream. He went out of his way to clear the name of a Muslim who was being falsely accused. Yet these things never happened. Piers is lying. Yeah, what the hell? When people say that, like, I've been waiting for people to show me something that demonstrates that. Every time, like, okay, Tommy said something that is like that is far right or racist or wants to attack Muslims or mosques, and they're like, okay, show me, and they have nothing, and they're like, okay, well, maybe he didn't say it, but he was dog whistling it. Oh, like, okay, dog whistling, yeah, I have a lot of experience with what dog whistles sound like. Show me the dog whistle, because I have been doing this for 10 or 15 years, so I am familiar with what dog whistles are like. And they're like, okay, show me the dog whistle, and they're like, there's no dog whistle. I'm not even saying that even the dog whistle is not there. Like, okay, but his tone kind of says, I'm like, oh, shut the fuck up. Like, shut the fuck up. Honestly, shut the fuck up. His tone. What are you talking? Like, he was saying, don't attack the mosque. Don't attack. Keep it peaceful. Don't attack Muslims. He constantly says, I have nothing against Muslims. He constantly says, I have nothing against migration. What he's concerned about is Islamization. He then generalizes all Muslims. He's actually pro-migration. He's against unfiltered mass migration and Islamic migration. He constantly says that. So he's like, when he's saying, you're telling me that when he says, like, don't attack mosques and keep it peaceful, if I actually listen to him carefully, his tone suggests that, no, go do attack the mosque. Based on the tone that he's saying, what are you on? I don't understand. This is insane. Oh my God.
Islam I was taught was one of peace and tolerance. There's not a single person alive who can force me to take sides or to hate anybody else. And I don't care what kind of Islamic person you are, to come along and tell me I should hate somebody else because of Islam is not the kind of Islam I prescribe to.
Your religion.
Listen to this. This is amazing. Andrew Tate is saying Islam doesn't promote hate. Okay? And what do you think Smile to Jannah here is going to say in response to that? Is that the answer is beautiful. Okay, the answer is beautiful because Smile to Jannah is saying, actually, Andrew Tate, Islam, and he's saying that as a Muslim defending Islam. It's like, what are you talking about? Islam does teach you to hate. Islam is a hateful religion. And he's saying that in defense of Islam. So Andrew Tate is saying, nobody could convince me to hate people. That's not Islam. Okay, but you know who actually does tell you? You know who says you should be hating as a Muslim? Muhammad. Listen to this. This is so beautiful. I love this part of this video. Look at this. Listen.
The Islam I was taught was one of peace and tolerance. There's not
Islam that as he understands it is for peace and tolerance.
Single person alive who can force me to take sides.
Okay, there's not a single person alive that could force him to take sides. What about a single person that is dead, Andrew Tate? What about Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? What about him? What about a dead person? Because he said you're supposed to hate.
Or to hate anybody else. And I don't.
Nobody could convince you to hate anyone else. Okay? Let's quote Muhammad using Sahih hadith. Listen, smile to. I don't even need to bring hadith because, guys, I'm an Islamophobe. You can't trust me when I'm trying to tell you that Islam promotes hate. You shouldn't be trusting me. Let's listen to the Muslim quoting hadith.
Care what kind of Islamic person you are to come along and tell me I should hate somebody else because of Islam.
What kind of Islamic person you are? What about the founder of Islam? Like, oh, I don't care what your credentials are in Islam, what kind of a ulama or Islamic scholar you are. I don't care what kind of Islamic, he says, what kind of Islamic you are. I think he meant what kind of Muslim you are. You're not going to convince me to hate person. That's not my Islam. Okay, what about the founder of Islam? How about that? How about that?
Is not the kind of Islam I prescribe to.
Your religion doesn't. What? Let me give you a hadith, a saying of the Prophet. Indeed, the strongest bond of faith is to love for the sake of Allah and hate for the sake of Allah. People like Mr. Robinson, who
you're supposed to hate. Look, and he's also giving you his source, right? He's also giving his source. Like, what are you talking? What are you saying? Islam is not hateful. You're supposed to hate for the sake of Allah. And he also puts the hadith down there just in case you're doubting that Muhammad said that. Okay, Andrew Tate, can you please tell us? Andrew Tate, you're a Muslim. Can Muhammad convince you to hate? Because you're saying, oh, I'm not going to hate. Muhammad is telling you to hate for the sake of Allah. Go look up the hadith. He's showing you the hadith on his screen. What do you have to say to that, Andrew Tate? What do you have to say to that? Are you going to defy Muhammad as a Muslim? Oh my God, this is fantastic. But no, somebody's saying this is taqiyya. This is not taqiyya. This is pure honesty. He's telling you that his religion is, Muhammad is telling you to hate for the sake of Allah. This is not taqiyya. Oh my God. Remember when I was showing you a video earlier of this Muslim in Speaker's Corner that he was telling the Christians, I hate you for the sake of Allah. When they say, I hate you for the sake of Allah, because Muhammad told them to hate people for the sake of Allah. Like he said, I hate all Jews for the sake of Allah. I hate all the Christians for the sake of Allah. He was saying that. And he gets this from this hadith. By the way, YouTube, we're not saying this. This is like, don't strike us down. This is just, I'm telling what other people are saying.
this bond of faith is to love for the
So let's love for the sake of Allah and hate for the sake of Allah. And who are you guys? Who are you supposed to hate for the sake of Allah? The infidels, the kuffar, the atheists, the unbelievers, the murtads, the ex-Muslims, the enemies of Allah, the Islamophobes. And he gives you an example.
a saying of the Prophet. Indeed, the strongest bond of faith is to love for the sake of Allah and hate for the sake of Allah. People.
Look how he emphasizes hates for the sake of, we're supposed to hate for the sake of Allah. So when he says for the sake of Allah, you know what that means? That it means that even if you don't find it within you to hate somebody. So for example, let's say you're a Muslim and you meet me and I'm an ex-Muslim who is challenging Islam and I don't like Islam and I'm advertising against Islam. But you meet me, you think, oh my God, Armin hates Islam. He must be a horrible person, horrible person. But then you meet me and then I am very nice to you and I'm telling you, I'm giving you arguments for why I don't like Islam. And you don't agree with my arguments, but you see that my goal is the betterment of the human condition and to improve people's lives. My goal is to make everybody, including Muslims, have better lives, more peaceful lives, more stable lives, increase well-being and reduce misery in the world for everybody, including Muslims. You see, like, okay, Armin is misguided. He hates Islam because he thinks Islam is bad for humanity, but his goals seem to be like genuinely for the right thing. You know, he wants people to be happier, right? I don't agree with him, but he doesn't seem like a bad guy. So I cannot, like, after you talk to me as a Muslim, maybe like, okay, maybe I can hate him. I don't feel like hating him. I don't feel like I'm supposed to hate this individual. It's the feeling is not coming, right? But then when Muhammad says hate for the sake of Allah, that means that even if you don't feel the hate, you're supposed, if you don't organically want to hate somebody, you're supposed to make yourself hate them for the sake of Allah, because Allah has identified this person as my enemy. These are the enemies of Allah. They're waging war against my religion, and you're supposed to hate them. So hate them for me, even if you don't want to. That's what it means when it says for the sake of Allah. That's what this means. So let's continue.
Like Mr. Robinson, who a killer of
So it says when you're supposed to hate, you're supposed to hate Robinson. Oh, and he tells you why you're supposed to hate Tommy Robinson. Guys, look at this. Because I'm still waiting for Tommy Robinson being a hateful, far-right, bigot, anti-Muslim person. I'm waiting for evidence for that. Like nobody is giving me evidence for that. But Smile to Jannah, he's giving me an example. Let's see why we should hate Tommy Robinson. Let's listen to the example.
a saying of the Prophet. Indeed, the strongest bond of faith is to love for the sake of Allah and hate for the sake of Allah. People like Mr. Robinson, who a killer of 77 people, Anders Breivik, terrorist in Norway, he donated to rebel media that hire extremists like Tommy Robinson.
Okay. You got him. You got Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson is an evil mother F. Like I'm not gonna say in YouTube. Like he's pure evil, far right, fascist, anti, and racist. All the bad words that I can't say here on YouTube. All of them. Imagine all of them. Okay. And we got him. We finally got him, guys. There was a racist person that killed a whole bunch of people. He donated to rebel media, which is somehow also connected to Tommy, because Tommy at some point was working there. So I thought he's going to say Tommy donated to the people. Like, listen to this again. This guys, the fact that this is their evidence shows that they are empty-handed. Listen to this.
Norway, he donated to.
Who donated? So it's not that Tommy supported them.
Mr. Robinson, who a killer of 77 people, Anders
So the killer of 77
Breivik,
person,
terrorist in Norway, he
that guy, the terrorist in Norway that killed 77 people, he donated. He didn't even donate to Tommy Robinson, which even if he donated to Tommy Robinson, I would be like, how am I supposed to stop people doing? Hey guys, I'm going to tell you something. I'm pretty sure that there are some very problematic people that have donated to Atheist Republic at some point. I don't know because I cannot verify who's donating here. But I'm sure that if you go dig who has supported financially Atheist Republic, you're going to find a lot of good people and some problematic people. And I'm sure that some people who support Smile to Jannah, they're terrorists. They're pro-terrorists. He has a large enough audience. I'm not holding him responsible for him, but I'm sure that Smile to Jannah has a large enough audience that if you go dig in his audience, at some point you're going to find a lot of people that are not terrorists, that are not violent, that are peaceful people. But at some point you're also going to find some people there that are pro-terrorists or terrorists themselves that have supported Smile to Jannah. Anyone with a large enough audience is going to find people who are supporting them, among them problematic people. How is that? Look how empty-handed. Guys, the fact that this is their example shows how they have nothing. They have nothing. He couldn't even identify a terrorist or a fascist that has donated to Tommy directly. By the way, without checking, I'm sure there is somebody who has donated to Tommy that is an outright fascist. I'm sure there are plenty of them. But there's also a whole bunch of people who have donated to him that are not fascists. How am I supposed to filter that? But his examples wasn't even a direct donation to Tommy. He's mentioning a terrorist that donated to rebel media who is like Tommy Robinson. What is this? This is what you have? This is what you have? Are you serious? I'm sure I have it. Guys, I'm sure there's a terrorist somewhere that at some point supported him. I'm sure of that. And we're not even a big channel compared to his channel. His channel has more than 1 million subscribers. Of course you have that. Of course you have a terrorist supporting you at some point. Tommy has an even bigger audience. Oh my God, look at this. Listen to this one more time in case I got it wrong. This is what you have? Unbelievable.
Like Mr. Robinson, who, a killer of 77 people, Anders Breivik, terrorist in Norway, he donated to
who? To Tommy?
rebel media that hire extremists like
And hire, he donated to rebel media who hired Tommy. I mean, how many degrees of separation do you want here? Oh no! Wow. Okay, I'm convinced. Tommy, you support terrorists because the terrorists supported the media that hired you at some point. Okay. Wow.
Tommy Robinson himself, yes, and Avi Yemeni. Not to mention the terrorist that killed 49 people in a mosque in New Zealand. He mentioned the EDL. The founder is, of course, Tommy Robinson. And
oh, okay. So the first one was insane. The second one was another terrorist who mentioned EDL. EDL, who the founder is Tommy. Look at the bike. Are you going to mention the full thing? First, oh my God. Are you going to mention that Tommy left the EDL specifically because it was becoming racist? Are you going to say that? Even if by the way, EDL is no more, by the way. But even if EDL was still here, this is not the evidence you're looking for. And this doesn't even show that EDL was racist. EDL was racist, but this is not the evidence for it. The evidence for EDL being racist is that they took racist positions. They said that they're racist. But somebody mentioning your organization, that's not the evidence that you're looking for to show that. So you see how many flaws there. So flaw number one, a terrorist mentioning your organization doesn't mean that you're racist. I'm not saying EDL was not racist. EDL was racist, but just a terrorist mentioning you, I'm sure there's going to be at some point where a terrorist is going to mention Atheist Republic at some point. Does that make us terrorists? But EDL was far right, was a fascist group, was a racist group. So problem number one with his argument is mentioning it is not enough evidence. But EDL itself is racist, and Tommy left it. Tommy left it because it was racist. Why are you keep talking about how incomplete of a picture the mainstream media paints for people when they're being so biased, but you're not. But look at you. You're so much worse. This is why actually we need mainstream media, because as bad as mainstream media could sometimes be, alternative media is even more biased. Look at this. This is alternative media.
and he mentioned them very fondly. This is a guy that you're defending. This is
What, Smile to Janet, are you going to? I'm going to clip these parts of these videos. Are you going to feel safe saying this, Smile to Janet? Do you not think at some point we're going to find people, terrorists that have committed the most disgusting crimes, that have mentioned you fondly, or a subscriber to your channel, or like your videos? Are you going to tell me, Smile, be honest? I know you're not going to be honest on your videos, but be honest in your own privately. Just think about this. Do you honestly think that there are no ISIS or Al-Qaeda sympathizers, groups that you yourself denounce, that are fans of your channel? Do you think they do not exist? You know, like, you have a huge audience. You know they exist. You know there are out there terrorists who have a positive view of you. Does that make you a terrorist? Does that make you a terrorist, Mafta Jannah? And if it doesn't, then how does that work? Why does that work for Tommy?
the guy that you can't hate, somebody who has caused the deaths of scores of Muslims.
We need
What? Andrew Tate has caused The death of Muslims?
This is a guy that you're defending. This is a guy that you can't hate. Somebody who has caused the deaths of scores of Muslims.
So Tommy Robinson has caused the death of scores of Muslims. Where's the evidence for that? That was your evidence? That was your evidence for Tommy? The accusations are insane. Where are you getting them from? In fact, actually, I'm going to make a claim. I'm going to say that Tommy is responsible for saving the lives of many Muslims. Tommy is responsible. I'm going to make this claim. And here's how I'm going to back this up, okay? When you have a group of people seeing that the society is changing in a rapid way, there's going to be a backlash to it. And a lot of people are going to get angry, right? And if you don't have a leader or a person that could channel that anger in a peaceful way and encourage them to show their grievances in a peaceful way, a lot of that tension is going to come out in a more violent and aggressive way. And given how Tommy has absorbed a lot of these people, and Tommy himself is constantly advocating for showing your grievances and your complaints in a peaceful way, I think if people like Tommy were not there, this anger would demonstrate itself, would express itself in a much more destructive and violent way. And I think a lot of Muslims in the UK need to be thankful to Tommy for steering this anger in a direction that doesn't blow up in their face. But again, they're not going to be thankful, because unfortunately many Muslims don't care about Muslims. Many Muslims unfortunately care about Islam and their lives being saved. And unfortunately, the Islamic meme would want the backlash to be in a violent way, because Islam grows on more Muslim victims. Islam feeds upon Muslim victims. So Islam, the meme, in a way, organically grows in a way where the community, the Ummah community, would want to encourage a violent backlash, because a violent backlash on Muslim community is the best thing for Islam itself. But if the Muslims who actually care about their own peace and stability, they should be thanking Tommy for channeling all this anger into a peaceful direction. Let me know if you agree with me on that on the live chat. Oh, we got a whole bunch of super chats. 10 years or what? Weak sauce argument? Yes. Thank you so much, Amanda, for the super chat. Brenda is saying Tommy's documentary Silence. He calls out Piers on his show, calling the boy who poured bottled water over the Syrian boy a vile person, racist, and more. It outed him as a bad reporter on fact finding. Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna. Actually, I'm not going to comment on that, because it might be illegal in the UK to recommend this documentary. Huh? Is it illegal, this documentary? People are getting in trouble for recommending this documentary, Silence. So, okay, I'm not suggesting for anybody to go watch this documentary. Okay, so I'm not suggesting it, because maybe that will get me into legal trouble. What you do is your own business. If I say I'm going to go watch it, could that be seen as a recommendation for people to go watch it? Because if it is, then I'm not going to say that.
We need to show the world that we are not the hateful ideology they think we are. We need to show the world that we believe in God and we trust God.
Yes, I agree with you. We need to
How much more hateful can you get when your prophet is actually encouraging you to hate? Like, oh, we need to show the world that Islam is not a hateful religion. You cannot get more hateful than a religion with a prophet that is directing you without without using any metaphors or anything, just directing you like hate for the sake of Allah. Like, do we have any other religions that this directly promotes hatred? That the prophet or the leader of the religion comes and tells you that, like, yes, hate for the sake of Allah. I want you to hate people, hate the people that I don't like. It's hard. It's very difficult. It's very challenging to get more hateful than that.
They think we are. We need to show the world that we believe in God and we trust God.
Yes, I agree with you. We need to show the world, but by helping the likes of Tel Aviv Tommy?
And then I got my Zionist card out, which said I am a Zionist. And I bought everything. Shalom. If there was a war tomorrow, which there will be, because I'll probably start it at the end of the session. If there was a war and it kicked off, I would be there on the front line fighting for Israel. Do you know why? Why not?
By helping.
Oh my God, look at them. They're making us love him even more. Oh, fantastic. Oh, this is fantastic. I like it how the far right people on Twitter were like, oh, Tommy what doesn't want you to know. Tommy, like, here's a secret. Did you guys know Tommy's a Zionist? He supports Israel? Like, Tommy doesn't want white Englishmen to know that he supports Israel and he's a Zionist. He's recording a video of himself like, yeah, I'm a Zionist. I would go fight for Israel. But like, he's not. Tommy, you're not doing a very good job hiding your Zionism. secret Zionist Tommy. Wow. Expose the video that he himself put out there. Oh God, this is what they're showing you to make you hate Tommy. Well, great job. Keep showing us this, because this is making us love Tommy. And by the way, it's amazing how, like, oh, Tom, you're supporting Tommy, the far right Tommy. He's leading a far right group against mosque. Oh yeah, so far right, supporting Jews and Israel. This is what we know the far right for their support of Jewish people. Guys, yeah, this is why so many are like, oh, did you know that Tommy gets support and funding and donations from Israel? Oh, you don't say. The guy who loves Israel and supporting Israel, you're gonna find people in Israel that like that and support him. No way. Oh, is that how it works? Oh, the Jews are funding everything. Maybe Israeli people support people who are supporting them. Maybe that's just something natural. I mean, I don't know. I get sometimes super chats from Israel here. Maybe it's because I support Israel, and people in Israel maybe sometimes appreciate that and they support this channel. Maybe that's how that's just how it works. Maybe that's just natural human behavior. Unbelievable. This is exposing Tommy. Just please keep exposing him, because let me tell you something. I used to think that they exaggerate how racist Tommy is, but he's a little bit racist. That's what I used to think. Right? And then I went and watched, because I didn't care that much, right? But then he became bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm like, okay, so let's go find his racism and like show, like, okay, he's not that racist, but he's a little bit racist. But the more I looked what they're accusing him of, I was like, okay, he said here, I don't agree with him over here, I don't agree with Tommy over there, but he's not a racist. He's an anti-racist. He's one of the greatest anti-racist activists in the world. He's basically, even the people who might become racist because of mass migration, because one thing that happens when you have mass migration, that one of the main reactions is that racism will grow. He's taking the reaction, he's like opposing mass migration, but he's taking all the people many of the people who are potentially would have become racist as a response to mass migration, and he's giving them a different outlet. So he's basically reducing racism, because the people who are angry, they come and they see that Tommy is the person that they want to support. And when they hear Tommy being anti-racist and not racist, they get convinced that, okay, racism is not the proper response. We should fight against mass migration, but racism is not the proper response. These are so many people. This is mass number of other people that would have become racist if it wasn't for Tommy. So Tommy is one of the greatest anti-racist activists in the world. But let's continue.
By helping him.
Oh, actually, let me read some of the super chat. Amanda is saying, screw it, I'll say go watch it. Well, I'm not saying, Amanda is saying that. Okay, Amanda, thank you for the super chat. And also BGC V10 is saying deploying Mossad shekels. Oh yeah, these are deploying Mossad shekels. Okay, so originally these were shekels. Be well, Armin, love you. Oh, thank you so much for your support. Thank you, I appreciate Israeli support. All right, let's continue.
Catalyzing riots here in the UK and attacks on.
Oh, wait, Harris Sultan is here, guys. please, Alfred, can you star comments by Harris Sultan in the live chat? If you see Harris Sultan saying something, star them. I might want to read them. Hold on, where was it? Yeah, yeah. Armin, I told you to look into Tommy. I changed your opinion. Yes, Harris was. Remember, you even said it's one of our streams together. Yes. I said, yeah. So let's give credit where credit is due. Harris Sultan was a huge influence in changing my opinion about Tommy. Honestly, when I thought that he must be a little bit racist, is because I thought, where there's smoke, there's fire. Like, I'm sure people exaggerated, but it cannot be all unfounded. Like, there must be something there. All of this narrative about Tommy, they're all wrong. Like, there must be like something that this is founded upon, and it's just exaggerated. And then Harris, honestly, it wasn't on the stream that I was convinced. Some of the videos that Harris made and I watched, I'm like, okay, I need to dig into this more. And then his videos that I watched made me go down a rabbit hole. And then I was, this is the most unfair. And then I was convinced that this is the most unfair take on Tommy Robinson. I felt so bad. I was like, okay, I need to do more videos defending this man to undo what I thought about him before. Yeah, by the way, guys, make sure you subscribe to Harris Sultan's channel. Okay, if you're not subscribed there, you're missing out big time. All right, let's continue. Oh, thank you, Harris.
Mosques and the lynching of colored folks. This is who you want to help? I get that you have an issue with illegal migration, but siding with somebody who's clearly funded, according to you as well, by the Zionists, and who...
Oh no, by the Zionists. You got him funded. By the way, funded by the Zionists. I'm funded by Zionists. I'm funded by a whole group of people. I am a Zionist. Why are you saying funded by Zionists? He himself is a Zionist. You already got him. He's 100% Zionist. He's even if he funds himself, he will be funded by Zionists. I love it when they use the word Zionist as if it's a dirty word.
And who's made it clear that he is anti-Islam. How on earth do you expect to get good results from this?
So these are the 4 things, guys, because remember, this is it. Smile to Jannah is a major Islamic channel with more than 1 million subscribers. Okay, so this is one of the biggest Islamic channels that there is out there, right? So when he wants to go and expose Tommy, he makes sure that he wouldn't leave. If you have something that could expose Tommy, that would be so obviously showing how bad Tommy is. Obviously, in this video, it's not like he's not going to use it. So he's going to use everything that he has to show how bad Tommy is. He's going to exhaust all of them. So look at the things that he has, because beyond this, he has nothing else. So a terrorist donated to Rebel Media, and Rebel Media hired Tommy. That's what his number one. Number 2 was EDL, which was a terrorist group that Tommy founded, and Tommy left. I mean, he missed that part because the EDL was becoming racist. There was another terrorist that spoke fondly of EDL. That number 2. Okay. Number 3, there are Zionists in the world who financially support Tommy. Okay. Well, there are Zionists who support us, and Tommy is a Zionist himself. 3. That was number 3. And number 4, which is the best one yet, is that Tommy is anti-Islam. All right. Wow. Like, okay, that's great. Keep attacking him, because this is a great promotion of Tommy. I mean, I agree with the last 2. Tommy is a Zionist, which is based. Tommy is anti-Islam, which is based. You're making us love him more. Please keep attacking him.
And that we're going to stand up for our beliefs, and we're not going to allow ourselves to be watered down or walked all over.
What are you talking about watering down? Here you are calling Jesus Lord.
Nothing more inspirational than saddling up with your boys in a bunch of supercars and taking time out your day to go and...
Oh wait, so he's trying to what did Andrew Tate say that he wants to now correct him? He's trying to say Andrew Tate is not a proper Muslim.
On earth do you expect to get good results from this?
And that we're going to stand up for our beliefs, and we're not going to allow ourselves to be watered down or walked all over.
What are you talking?
So he's saying we as Muslims are gonna stand up for our beliefs, and he's not gonna show that Andrew Tate referred to Jesus as Lord.
Talking about watering down. Here you are calling Jesus Lord.
Nothing more inspirational than saddling up with your boys in a bunch of supercars and taking time out your day to go and praise the Lord Jesus Christ.
This is
Okay, so if you praise as a Muslim, you praise Jesus as Lord. Okay, so praising Jesus is fine Islamically. By Lord, if you are accusing him that by Lord he means God, then you cannot call him a Muslim anymore, because that was shirk. That was shirk. Andrew Tate is an ex-Muslim. I mean, the word Lord doesn't necessarily have to mean God, right? But if you are accusing him of calling Jesus God, then be careful with that, because you just takfired him. Sinning doesn't take you out of the fold of Islam, but shirk and announcing partners for Allah, announcing somebody else to be God other than Allah, that will take you out of the fold of Islam. So if you're just calling Jesus Lord because lords are, just powerful, or like, it could just be a sign of respect. Maybe I'm wrong about this. If you call Jesus Lord, does that necessarily mean that you're calling Jesus God? Is that the only meaning it could have? But I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But if you are saying that he was calling Jesus God, then you just takfired him. So Andrew Tate, as of now, is not a Muslim according to you. Again, guys, when they say Andrew Tate is drinking alcohol, that doesn't make him a non-Muslim. If he's having sex outside of marriage, that doesn't make him a non-Muslim, because you could sin and still be a Muslim. If you say that those are not sins, then you leave the fold of Islam. But sinning itself doesn't take you out of the fold of Islam. However, shirk, meaning saying something is God other than Allah, that does take you out of the fold of Islam. So be careful with your accusation here, Smile to Jannah, because you're now takfiring Andrew Tate. You're basically announcing that he's not a Muslim, even though he says he is one. So let's see what you think he means by Lord.
A bunch of supercars and taking time out your day to go and praise the Lord Jesus Christ.
This is after you've accepted Islam for quite a while, and where you're driving on your way to church. We don't believe Jesus is Lord. Christians believe he's part of a 3 persons Trinity, and they believe it to be one.
So yeah, you are accusing him of saying that Jesus is God. So you just takfired Andrew Tate. So Andrew Tate, according to Smile to Jannah, you're no longer a Muslim. So hey, Andrew Tate, be careful that you do not. No, so Smile to Jannah, be careful that you never refer to Andrew Tate as a Muslim anymore. He's an ex-Muslim. Actually, I don't know if I like this. I don't want Andrew Tate to be an ex-Muslim. I want him to be one of you guys. I don't want him to be one of us. By the way, and look at how he makes fun of the Trinity. Look at this. Hold on.
Persons Trinity, and they believe it to be one. You need a PhD, and even then you're going to struggle to understand that. In Islam, we don't believe a human being is equal to God.
The point he made.
So Muslims love to make fun of the Trinity, because there's 3 people, but they're one, and then you need a PhD to understand that. That doesn't make any sense. Like, Islam is a lot more simple. There's one God. One is a simple number. Our minds could understand just the oneness of God, and the simplicity of it is proof that it's true. Okay. But by the way, that's a logical fallacy. A simplicity of something doesn't make it true. But they say that, like, oh, you guys are just like, because it's confusing, then it must not be true. Well, if that was the case, first of all, that's not true. If you look at reality, actually, reality is very complicated. The simplicity of the answer actually suggests that your answer is not true, because the world is not that simple. But even if simplicity was evidence for the truthness of your claim, then your tawheed, or the oneness of God, is actually bizarre. As bizarre as the Trinity. Like, oh my God, the Christians, 3 God, 1, all of them are the same thing, but they're separate. Like, what did that make? 3 is equal to 1. These Christians seem very confused. Okay, we have just one God. Okay, no, hold on there. It's actually, you guys had your first Inquisition over this. You guys the first murder of Muslims by a caliphate because of and torture of ulama, of Islamic scholars by a caliphate, was over the exact same issue, right? The Mu'tazilin versus what is now Orthodox Islam. was over the concept of how can we treat the Quran, because the Quran itself is now, according to Muslims, is the uncreated word of God. So this challenges the concept of Tawheed. Tawheed means that there's only one divine entity. There's only one divine entity, and that's Allah. And this is the most foundational and belief in Islam. This is their main belief. There's nothing more important than the concept of Tawheed or the oneness of Allah in Islam. But they are actually contradicting it by saying that the Quran is the uncreated word of Allah. The Mu'tazilites at some point said that no, the Quran should be the created word of Allah. It cannot be above time and space, because there should be only one divine entity in the world. But because Muslims, but they wiped those people out. The Mu'tazilites are no more. Now the Muslim belief, the mainstream Muslim belief, is that God is a divine entity and the Quran is the uncreated word of Allah, separate from time and space, existing throughout time, throughout space, it's separate from its historical context. So Quran existed before Muhammad was even born, right? There's a heavenly copy of it somewhere, of it, right? But this is this belief, this Islamic belief, challenges the concept of Tawheed, because now we have two divine entities. Now we have Allah, and the Quran itself is now a divine entity as well. If it's uncreated, if the Quran is uncreated, independent from time and space, then Allah is now a divine entity, and the Quran is a divine entity. This challenges the concept of Tawheed, which is shirk, which is associating partners in divinity to Allah. So this mainstream belief in Islam contradicts Tawheed in Islam. So again, you could see your Tawheed has its own issues. Your principles of Islam, like, oh, Christians, this is contradictory, that Yahweh is God, but Jesus is also God. They're separate people, but they're the same people. Well, you have the same problem. Is the Quran divine being, a divine entity or not? Is it created? Is it uncreated? Does this challenge the concept of Tawheed? Doesn't? You guys, this was, and don't act like, oh, no, this Armin, this is a simple thing. This was complicated enough for your ulama to convince the caliphate to kill each other over it. At one point, your scholars, your Islamic scholars, were asking the caliphs to kill this ulama, these scholars, and then when they had the upper hand, this was a huge debate within early Islamic history. So don't go like, no, Armin, this is actually simple. Your scholars say this is complicated, so you have the same problem. Anyways, let's listen to the rest of this.
It is a Zionist plant.
Can I finish?
Jewish people,
May I finish,
Jewish
Piers?
people on social media.
So this is vintage Piers. He's doing the bidding for the Zionists that want Zionism and Judaism to be intertwined and one. When in reality, even Jews have an issue with this, because Judaism has been around for centuries, whilst Israel has not.
To be
Israel has not? Smile to Jannah, do you have a copy of the Quran somewhere in your home? Because what the hell are you talking about? Because Israel has not been around for centuries. This book, the Quran, mentions Israel so many freaking times. How many times, guys, how many times the Quran does mention? The Quran has been, I know I just said the Quran, according to you guys, is independent from time and space, but historically, this book has been around for centuries, and it mentioned Israel many, many times in it. Guys, how many times does the Quran mention Israel? How many times does the Quran mention Israel? Let me see. I should have that number somewhere. How many times does the Quran mention Israel? Let me see. I'm going to search this. I'm using AI. Okay, so yeah, 43 times apparently. 43 times. How many times? Oh, thank you, Alfred. Thank you, Alfred. Or so good. So how many times does the Quran mention the word Palestine, by the way? Guys, get in the live chat, okay? So the Quran mentions Israel. The Quran mentions Israel 43 times. 43 times. How many times does it mention Palestine? Yes, guys. 0, 0, 0. A big fat 0. Okay, so there you go. Oh God, this is so easy. This is so easy. Why do you make it so easy? Why is it so easy to show how idiotic these Islamic arguments are? Oh my God. Can you think 0.0? Yes.
Clearly, then you don't agree when he said the protests are being amplified and directed by Zionist plants on social media. You don't agree with that?
No, I think that people had a legitimate
great.
concern.
You just said Tommy is a Zionist, and if we accept that he amplified the riots, then the point is clearly correct. That's another bull.
No. Okay, you're missing. So here's the thing: Zionists are supporting something. Okay, there's three things here that people are mixing with each other. Okay, when people say Zionists are supporting this, Zionists, you're referring to a trope, an anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish trope, where Jews, there's like a world power of Jewish people behind the scenes, pulling the strings and controlling the media and politics and finances, right? This is what you guys are referring to, okay? We know you're anti-Semitic and what you're referring to. That's what you're saying, right? So when you say there's Zionism behind this is supported by Zionism, you're referring to that anti-Jewish trope. These examples that you have is people, individuals, who they're just naturally doing what humans do, which are supporting things that they believe in, right? So some of them happen to be Jews. Some of them happen to be Zionists. So if you say like, oh, a Zionist supported something somewhere, well, everybody supports something that all groups of people everywhere support things that they believe in. That's different from what you guys are referring to, where powerful Jews behind the scenes in dark rooms controlling everything. That's what you're referring to. You're not referring to like, well, all groups of people everywhere support the causes that they believe in, and oh, some of them happen to be Zionists. That's not what you're referring to. And you're also not referring to somebody supporting his own cause who happens to be a Zionist himself. That's not what you're referring to. You're referring to the anti-Semitic trope. So don't act like these are the same. These are three different things. A conspiracy theory, people naturally supporting things that they believe in, and some of them obviously are going to happen to be Jews or Zionists, and somebody supporting his own cause and he himself happens to be a Zionist. So these three things are not the same.
Dropped by you, mate.
He's admired somewhat as one of the brains of the EDL. He's just got a delivery of quotes from the Quran from his researcher in Israel.
It's going to be everything that's warmongering about Islam and how jihad is the main goal for any Muslim.
I thought I'd put this in there as well. Quran verse interpretations coming in from Tel Aviv. That's why I call him Tel Aviv Tommy.
Do you know?
Oh my God. So look how Tommy, who has nothing to do with ADL, he left EDL. Look at the degrees of separation. You have somebody from EDL who has a scholar in Israel who has sent him interpretation of Quranic scripts to show him why Quran is wrong, and all of a sudden is Tel Aviv Tommy, because somebody in the organization that Tommy left got his Islamic Quranic interpretation from someone in Israel. I mean, Smile to Jannah. What is Smile to Jannah's name? Zishash? Z something? I forgot his name. But should I call him Tel Aviv Tommy? No, or Tel Aviv Smile to Jannah? Because he agreed with there are certain Jews, for example, in Israel that are anti-Zionist, right? And you guys mentioned that. You guys mentioned the Jews in Israel that are anti-Zionist. So, and some of them are in Tel Aviv. Should I now call you Tel Aviv Smile to Jannah just because you agreed with certain people that happen to live in Tel Aviv? Unbelievable. These arguments, man. These arguments.
Except that when you said,
oh, we got a new member. Thank you so much for being a new member. Oh, and also Amanda with a super chat saying it goes like this: lies, damn lies, statistics, apologetics. I mean, statistics, if used right, is a good source of information. If you don't use it, if you use them responsibly. I'm just saying hi, everyone. Don't forget to like. Love from Israel. Well, thank you, Angie, and thank you so much for your super chat and for the love and support. Guys, Tel Aviv Army. Tel Aviv Army. Armin is getting support from Israel. I'm Tel Aviv Army. Proudly so. Mr. Yasminok is saying, yeah, oh, Yasminok just became a member. Well, thank you so much for becoming a member. Oh, Harry Sultan is saying, I also just dropped a video on Tommy Robinson that was inspired by Armin's last stream on Tommy. And that video is called Why Does the Real Far Right Hates Tommy? I think there's an extra S there that you need to remove, because when you need to say hate. Why does the real far right hate Tommy? Okay, so it should be hate Tommy. But yeah, guys, go watch the latest video on Harris Sultan's channel. It's really good. I already watched it. I'm not just saying that because it gives me credit at the very end. It's I'm not saying it because of that, but no, it's genuinely a really good video. It's short to the point. It just does a really good job in a very short amount of time. So just make sure you go watch that. Sorry for being a grammar Nazi.
On the 29th of July, that there was an illegal immigrant who had perpetrated this crime, that you were wrong.
I accept. It looks like the...
All right. So again, Andrew Tate, being an idiot, being somebody who doesn't fact check before he posts something or says something, posted a video, and a lot of his facts about who did the crime and who did who killed those poor girls ended up being wrong. And now Piers Morgan wants to call him out on that, and let's see how Andrew Tate responds.
Quran verse interpretations coming in from Tel Aviv. That's why I call him Tel Aviv Tommy.
Do you now accept that when you said on the 29th of July that there was an illegal immigrant who had perpetrated this crime, that you were wrong?
I accept. It looks like the facts of the matter say, in fact, it was a migrant instead of an illegal migrant. However, there's a huge number of crimes committed by illegal migrants, and I still think the country's not safe as long as they're allowed to come into...
Yes, but when you couple it with the anti-Muslim sentiment, it's not just about migrants. It ends up becoming about certain types of migrants, i.e. the people that have been demonized for quite a while now, scapegoated.
Well, first,
I already, at the beginning of the video, I already gave my full analysis regarding crime rates and crimes and migrant or Muslim crimes versus, and how you're supposed to analyze this and how you're supposed to talk about this and the bigger issue that is being missed here. I already responded to all of that, so I'm not going to do that all over again.
Firstly, I'll start by saying I didn't know Nigel Farage said those things about me, which is a shame because I'm actually a fan of him. I think he's trying to do the right thing.
Well, I can't say I'm surprised. This guy seems to be supporting anyone who is anti-Muslim. I mean, that's the impression that I'm getting. And not only has he been backstabbed by Nigel, and get used to this because you're going to be backstabbed by a lot of people in the right wing.
Well, you guys supported Andrew Tate, and now you're being backstabbed by Andrew Tate. So, look in the mirror.
This is the sort of things that Nigel says.
We have a growing number of young people in this country who do not subscribe to British values, in fact, loathe much of what we stand for.
Are we talking about Muslims here?
We are.
He has, in effect, brushed Muslim kids as not subscribing and loathing British values. In other words, otherizing them, villainizing them. The people whom you respect demonize us, and they have caused...
Wait, so he demonized Muslims because he's saying there's a large group of Muslims who do not respect British values? That's what he did? Let me see. Let me make sure that I got that right, okay? Let's make sure that we got this part right. I mean, Nigel was not saying anything wrong here. It's completely right. But let's make sure that we get the accusation perfectly right here.
Brushed Muslim kids as not subscribing and loathing British values. In other words, otherizing them, villainizing.
Right. So if we say Muslims, Muslims are not, many Muslims, not all of them obviously, are not in favor of British values, we're demonizing Muslims and we're otherizing them. Guys, make sure you remember this, okay? So highlighting the idea that many Muslims are not in favor of British values is demonizing and otherizing Muslims. Okay, so keep that in mind.
Demonizing them. The people whom you respect demonize us, and they have caused a rise in Islamophobic attacks. In fact, according to The Guardian, over 300%.
Okay, so and he's also saying that causes Islamophobic attacks. Okay, so actually, that's very concerning. Okay, that's very concerning. If we suggest that many Muslims are not in favor of British values or British way of life or British laws, that is bad. That is going to demonize and otherize Muslims, and you shouldn't be in favor of these people. Okay, so let me then expose this other Islamophobe here. His name is Smile to Jannah. Let's look at what this guy thinks about the British values and British law. Okay, because this Islamophobe. Let's see if he agrees with British law and British way of life. Let's see what he has to say.
So I think then the question is, no, our law is better and superior than yours. Hang on a minute right here. Our law is made by the most wise, the most just, the most kind, the most merciful, the all knowledgeable, frankly. Who is your law made by? What, a couple of guys that are basing their understanding on a few observations? No, but it's changing over time. Okay, so the pool, the sample just becomes bigger. But does that person know everything? Of course not. They're not the all-knowing. They are not the all-seeing. So man-made laws will always have a disparity. They will always be flawed. So as Muslims, we should be confident about our religion. We are going to challenge you. In fact, your liberal principles and your laws, they are subjective. They come from the individual. My choice, mate. What if it's your choice to do something silly? The laws can change, and they have changed. We know the homosexuality law, what that was like 40, 50 years ago, and what it's like today.
Okay, wait a second. This Islamophobe is saying that British law, because they're man-made law, they're not very good and they're no use because they can change and all that. I mean, I could make a whole 2-hour video about how stupid this is, but that's beside the point. The point is that he just demonized Muslims because he says that as a Muslim, you shouldn't, believe in man-made laws. Their laws, God's laws, are superior to these liberal laws, these man-made laws, and these are not. So you don't believe in these laws. You don't accept these laws. You see them as inferior. So you're against British values. You're against not only British values but British laws. You don't like them. But you just told us here that somebody's saying that will be otherizing Muslims. Here, that's what you said here. That's otherizing Muslim and demonizing them. But you basically confirm what Nigel was saying is true. You just said yourself as a Muslim that you're against these laws, that you don't agree with the British way of life, the British values. So how come when Nigel says it, that's otherizing and demonizing Muslims, and when you're saying it, it doesn't do that? How does that work again? Like, I don't even have to go and make my own arguments. I just have to just show people what you have to say. Like, I just have to show you that you're saying you're against the laws. You're against these man-made laws, these secular liberal laws. I don't even have to construct a whole argument. I just need to let people hear what you have to say. Unbelievable.
Rise in Islamophobic attacks. In fact, according to The Guardian, over 300% since October the 7th.
This is so unbelievably biased reporting. Are you not going to mention how extremely... So every time I try to be fair. When I say after October 7th, the attacks on Jews increase, I also mention that attacks on Muslims also increase. How are you citing the increase of attacks on Muslims after October 7th without mentioning how much more astronomically higher the attacks on Jews increased as well after October 7th? Why would you not mention that? What is this with this biased reporting? And you keep like, oh, mainstream media. Are you not going to mention that yes, the attacks on Muslims increased after October 7th, but the attacks on Jews increased by so much more. None of these are good, but you should mention them both together, because that's the main thing that happened. You should always mention it. It just shows that you're so dishonest, and so you're not going to paint a full picture. I always try to mention the anti-Muslim increasing as well. When I mention the anti-Jewish attack increasing, I always try to remind people that yeah, anti-Muslim attacks also increased after October 7th. But you're so biased. You only give us half of the picture.
These were a few blunders that Tate made during his exchange with Piers Morgan, who is trying to win back Muslim community, and he thinks that we have thrown Tate under the bus. No, we're holding our brother to account. That's what we're doing. We see him as a brother. However, when your brother does something severe, he needs a severe reminder, and he's gonna be left.
He's not your brother anymore. You just accuse him of shirk. You're like, okay, yeah, Andrew Tate is doing some bad things, but he's a Muslim, and we're just trying to remind him the right way. He's not your brother anymore. He just left Islam. You accused him of shirk. You accuse him of shirk. That means he's mushrikun. He's not one of the Muslimun, the Muslimin. He's one of the mushrikeen. Okay, he's a mushrik.
Left to dry by these guys, and he's going to lose the support of the Muslims. That's why it's important that he takes these criticisms, reflects on them, and doesn't just double down on them. I pray he has strong brothers around him rather than the weaklings that claim to be Muslim and frankly haven't really supported him, have just been massaging him as he commits these blunders and are silent. So we've had to speak out. But yeah, guys, hope you benefited from this video. Let's leave it there, guys. Until next time, assalamu alaikum.
So let me respond to your comments. I'm glad that he's cleaned his nose. I think he watches our videos, because every time he did like this, there was something like moving around in his nose, and I was like, guy, you have 1 million subscribers. Before you do that, clean up your nose so that we don't have to hear all the boogers in your nose like moving around. So now his nose seemed a lot more cleaner before his show. Anyways, Kiko is saying, why police do not arrest him? Arrest him for what? They arrest only white people for memes. Like, no. What are you talking about? Arrest Smile to Jannah for what crime? For mentioning his opinion? Like, what crime did he commit, Kiko? This is insane. This level of we don't. Some of your recommendations really helps Islam spread. I'm glad that the UK is not arresting these people for their videos. What do you want them to do? Arrest people for expressing their views on YouTube? No, I'm not for that. I do not recommend that. There's better ways in fighting Islam. Kenny's saying certain types of migrants. You mean the ones that RAPE women? I don't know what this is referring to, because I'm not. I don't know in what context this was posted. It's too late. Amir saying, no, Armin, you get support from Israelis because you're awesome. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Amir. I appreciate that. Thank you. Harris is saying, that's exactly what Nuria thought too, and she couldn't find anything racist. Okay, great. Harris is basically spreading corruption in the land quite effectively. Thank you, Harris. So he's saying, Abu Maliha is saying, Israel hates the Persians. The Persians, goyim, you twat. Abu Maliha, Israel doesn't hate Persians. Israel is, first of all, you're generalizing, but most Israelis now are in support of Persians. Actually, there's a street in Israel named after Cyrus, which was the Persian king. And in Jewish texts, the only non-Jewish person that is spoken very highly of is a Persian, which is Cyrus. So it's interesting. It's interesting because in Palestine, if you go in Palestine, there's a square after Saddam, named after Saddam, which is the person who attacked Iran. and killed a lot of Persians, and Palestinians support him. And a lot of Palestinians went and supported Saddam and volunteered in the Iran-Iraq war against Persians, against Iranians, actually, I should say, right? However, so in Palestine, there's a square dedicated to Saddam, somebody who was anti-Iranian and killed a whole bunch of Iranians. But in Israel, we have a street named after Cyrus the Great. So yeah, very anti-Persian. Yes. So what is this? The irony is far-right hate all non-white people. That includes Armin. Oh yeah, well that shows that Tommy is not far right, because Tommy doesn't hate people like me. Tommy follows me on Twitter. So good. Thank you for confirming that Tommy is not far right. Okay, so what is this? Islam is the future of Abrahamic religion. The Christian will long gone to become either agnostic or atheist, and Jews will stay at the bottom because of how strict their conversion are. Well, keep coping. Like right now, there's so many people that are leaving Islam, and I think the ex-Muslim movement is going to grow significantly. But I think you guys are very afraid about the growth of the ex-Muslim movement. That's why you keep saying these things, because you're coping. You're basically scared. Anyways, I should, somebody saying mass multiculturalism is dangerous and stupid idea. Well, it depends on what we mean by culture, and it depends on what we mean by culture. Culture refers to two different things that shouldn't be the same word shouldn't be used for it. I try to say categorize. I put culture in two different groups, right? And Group A and Group B. Group A are things like dance, food, art, architecture, movies, poetry, calligraphy, fashion, all of that that's in category A, right? And to me, that category of culture, those types of culture, there is no right or wrong culture. It's just a matter of taste, right? And the more of that, the merrier. But there's another category of culture, let's say category B. And these are so different that I don't know why we use the same word for them. Category B is your way of life, your morality, your ethical system, your politics, the right and wrong, your belief system. That is category B. And category B, there is right and wrong. And when it comes to category A, the more the merrier. I mean, the more options you have, the better in society. People could choose based on their taste. When it comes to category B, however, not only we shouldn't, it's not that we should be against mass multiculturalism. When it comes to category B, we should be against any form of multiculturalism, even the tiniest amount of multiculturalism. Because when it comes to category B, we have the right way and we have the wrong way, and we should annihilate the wrong way. So when it comes to cultures that are inferior, it's not that the cultures are inferior, we should accept a little bit of it. No, we should not accept it, we should work to destroy it. Inferior culture not only should not be accepted, the effective thing to do is not only to be defensive against it, we should actually be offensively trying to eliminate it. I'm not going to have a little bit of a culture that says wife beating is okay. I'm not going to have a little bit of a culture that accepts modesty culture. I want to destroy. I want to, not only do I not want it in my country, I want to actually go to the country that has that and go to their land and destroy it even there. I don't want it here. I don't want to go there and destroy it where it is coming from. I take an offensive approach to inferior culture. It's inferior. Why would I have multiple versions of culture that is not the superior culture? The superior culture should be defended, and the inferior culture should be wiped out. I'm not supporting, when it comes to category B, I'm against mass multiculturalism, I'm against any level of multiculturalism. Not just at home, but also on the planet. Multiculturalism in category A, sure, whatever. Yeah, I have 2 options of food, now I have 10. Fantastic. All right, so let me see. Oh, we got another super chat. Kenny saying, I was just responding to the claim that Tommy hates certain immigrants, Muslims. His hatred is against grooming gangs, etc. Well, it's not just that. It's also against an ideology that might be carried by people who we do not hate. So, like, for example, if you have a virus that is not being expressed in your body, but you are a carrier of it, we are not against you as an individual, but you are carrying something with you that is dangerous for my society, and I am trying to fight that. So when it comes to people, there are a majority of people who might be carriers of a dangerous ideology who we're not against them individually. There's only a minor group of these people that we could, I mean, it's not even worth talking about hating them. Like, it's not about hating the individuals. This is a threat that we're taking a position against to try to save our society, right? I mean, you could hate or you could not hate. This is an emotional response. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm less concerned about the emotions that you feel towards certain individuals within this group. I don't want it to spread towards, I wanted to make sure that it doesn't spread to the innocent people or people who are kind. But if you actually hate those, specific individuals who are worthy of hate, it doesn't really, the hate itself is not going to do anything. I care about what we could do to neutralize the threat. I care more about that, right? So when it comes to, so let's talk about the idea and the individuals. The individuals, the vast majority of them who hatred towards them is not justified, okay? There's a minority of them who hatred towards them because they're criminals is just a natural reaction, and nobody is supposed to be blamed for hating hateful people, right? So that's completely fine, but those are just the individuals, but it's really not addressing the problem here. When it comes to the idea itself, then I'm against that. And I think Tommy gets this understands this, okay? Because Tommy's position is against mass migration and against Islam as an ideology, and not towards hating all Muslims. And I think if I listen to him, I mean, and he's not like an academic or an intellectual, but for some reason, he seems to be getting this, even though a lot of other people don't get it. When I listen to him, he completely understands that we're talking about three different things. We're talking about an ideology that many good Muslims are a carrier of, but the ideology itself is a danger. We're talking about the vast majority of Muslims who hatred towards them is not justified, but the concern that they're carrying this ideology is justified. And then there's a minority, that's two. And then there's a minority of them where the main threats of this ideology express itself to its maximum, but and those are the radicals and the criminals. But again, I actually do believe that the main bulk of the threat to society doesn't come from those radicals, because it's the peaceful majority who we are not supposed to hate, who are actually the main carriers of this of this evil ideology. So I don't, even though those are the most extreme expressions of it, but the main bulk of the carriers of this virus comes from the moderates and the peaceful people who are holding it. Because without those peaceful Muslims, this ideology would not be able to survive long enough for it to express itself through those radicals. But even if it doesn't express itself through those radicals, it is slowly and more silently and more secretly eroding the foundations of societies without it being noticed. Only when you see a criminal doing something, you're like, oh my God, Islam. But I'm saying, like, even without, like, let's imagine there were no radical Muslims. Let's say, imagine there were no terrorists. Let's say there was no, like these grooming gangs and stuff like that. Then a lot of you people would be like, okay, there's no threat. I'm like, no, even if all of that was away, this threat is even more real somewhere else. Okay, we're getting more super chats. Tesbot is saying Tommy gets it because he's smart. Yeah, maybe. And I hope more people listen to Tommy, because I think a lot of times when I say we're not supposed to hate Muslims, a lot of you are like, what are you saying, Armin? What are you saying? We're not supposed to hate Muslims? How all Muslims are like this? All Muslims are like that. We should listen to Tommy. And then you listen to Tommy, and Tommy is like, oh yeah, we shouldn't be hating all Muslims. I think Tommy is saying that we shouldn't be hating Muslims. Tommy is saying that he's not against all Muslims. So the guy that you guys are endorsing is actually saying the same thing. All right, so guys, make sure that you are liking the stream. Make sure that you recommend this channel. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell notification. Make sure you leave a comment. Make sure you tell your friends and your enemies and everyone else to come subscribe to Atheist Republic on YouTube. If you're subscribed, the subscription is not enough. You have to hit the bell notification so that every time I go live, you guys end up being here in the live chat, because your comments makes this show a lot richer. And thank you so much, Alfred, for highlighting people's comments. I'm going to go get ready for my Persian show on the Persian channel. It's called Jomhuriya Bi Khodayan, which is a show for mostly an Iranian audience, but also some Afghans and some people from Tajikistan. But it's a Persian, so most of the audience is inside Iran. I'm going to go get ready for that show. Anyways, guys, till next stream, bye. Like the stream.